Smiley from the Energy Boutique with your energy and ascension forecast for Sunday, April 2nd to Saturday, April 8th. So last week, we basically concentrated on just keeping our head above water, just pushing ourselves throughout the day. Of course, we were wrapping up March, which was an absolute shit show, crazy type of energy, as predicted. And of course, we experienced our first quarter moon in Cancer energy, bringing up all the feels, really showing us where it is that we have some very deep attachments to the past, to the version of ourselves that we've been praying to actually outgrow, and where it is that we kind of have to boss up and be a little bit more strict, disciplined, with pushing ourselves out of trying to settle for the old and really encourage us to stay the course, even though it may be super confusing and super overwhelming right now. Stay the course, stay in alignment with what it is that our heart and our physical body is asking for. This was a big hit on nurturing. And of course, with the moon in Cancer, and Mars in Cancer, they had a little bit of an interaction, which definitely showed us where it is that we are lacking the physical energy to do anything right now. We'll talk about that later on in the Ascension Symptoms. So what do we got going on this week? Well, we are moving into April. Brand new month coming at us, brand new frequency, brand new vibration, brand new life lessons. I will be honest in saying that I'm a little bit late on all of my monthly forecasts. Hopefully, I'll be able to drop the energy forecast for April before today is over. And I'm a little bit short on my forecast as well. We'll talk about that in just a second. However, we are going to dive into April, and hopefully at a much slower pace than what March offered us. Of course, we don't have as many crazy things taking place in April as we do March. I don't want to set you up for a little bit of a surprise and disappointment, though. We are moving into eclipse season. Not sure how you feel about that, but that is definitely something that April is going to offer us. And this week we will have Mercury move out of that Aries energy that we've been sitting in, and we will be moving into Taurus energy. That's going to be a totally different vibe, really slow the pace down, really provide us with some extra focus, if you will. We get to put the blinders on a little bit, actually concentrate on one thing at a time, really bring into focus what is most important for us. Although the Mercury and Aries energy was great because it dug us out of that Pisces energy that was so hella confusing and definitely creating blockages on how it is that we were able to think and actually communicate our thoughts. That Aries energy has just been bouncing all around, and I don't think it's doing any of us any favors when we are really trying to identify new ideas in the path forward. We're not gaining as much clarity as we would like because that Spitfire energy just has us bouncing all around, kind of scatterbrained, kind of excited about everything that we kind of bring into the realm of possibilities in our imagination. And then just as excited as we may get about something, the boredom kicks in just a few minutes later, and then we are back to the drawing board. So hopefully Mercury moving into Taurus energy will ground us out a little bit. We'll have an extra oomph on being able to focus on one thing at a time, really kind of explore the highs, the lows, the strategy, the calculations, everything in between on the plans that we are still scrambling to make. And this week we will be moving towards the full moon taking place in Libra energy on the 6th. So this full moon in Libra is going to be the last quote unquote normal full moon that we have control over as far as releasing energies and manifesting new ones go. Because once we jump into eclipse season, we are under the influence of wildcard energy coming from the cosmos, which will likely put us on a path and sort us out in ways that we were unable to do within ourselves. So we really want to take advantage of this full moon in Libra, especially seeing how Libran energy is about balance. And Lord knows, not many of us have been feeling stable and balanced as of late. Of course, it will kind of push us into the extremes of our emotions, our thoughts, and the relationship dynamics that need a little bit more attention in order to balance those energetic scales. because that's what Libran energy does. We want to find peace. We want to find harmony. We want to find balance within ourselves, within our relationships, within our environment. But we tend to find that balance through starting at the extremes and working our way back. It will be at 16 degrees. This is the second full moon that we have at 16 degrees. 16 degrees halfway through a sign, which means that we are at the peak precipice of a cycle that began about a year and a half ago, where relationships are concerned. And this is going to definitely highlight some of those topics and themes, bring that into a full circle illumination, show us where it is that we have maybe been putting other people's wants, needs, and desires before our own, and where it is that we got to pull those reins back in order to balance the scales in our personal relationships, recognizing that our own personal wants, needs, and desires are just as important as the wants, needs, and desires of the partnership, of the team, of the group. So there's definitely going to be a lot to unpack with that full moon. Definitely pay attention for when that moon guide drops. And we're just going to be settling into a new vibration, a new frequency, a new energy here this week. And I think it's going to be a little bit more calm, a little bit more stable. Give us a little bit more breathing room, because Lord knows we have just been tossed around. We have been all over the place with the energies of March. We knew it, right? We talked about it. I even pointed out at the beginning of the year in the 2023 energy forecast that March was the busiest month, and within March, the busiest week of the whole freaking year. And lucky for us, we survived it. So good for us. Woohoo. Let's celebrate that. I don't know if you have the energy to celebrate, but that's as much as you're probably going to get out of me, which is a woohoo. Anywho, let's talk about a couple of things as far as homework goes before I jump into the Ascension Symptoms for this week. First of all, I just want to thank you. I want to thank you for being here. I want to thank you for sharing your time and your energy with us. If you're here in the chat, I want to thank you for just showing up and for spending your Friday evening with us. If you are listening to this on a revisit, a repeat, whatever they call that, replay, I want to thank you for being here as well. I know as of late, I've been talking about not seeing as many people in the chat, not seeing as many people in the comments. My numbers are not as high. I got a beautiful message from a beautiful soul that I will not put a shout out because I kind of don't like putting people on the spot there, but I got a message to say like, hey, I'm one of those people that, kind of live behind the curtain, but I tune in every day and I find the content super helpful to remind me that I'm not crazy. And just a thought, hey, maybe your numbers are low or the comments are low because you've helped so many people get on track that they are basically on their own independent journey, not needing as much assistance. And I thought to myself, you know what? That's a great perspective. Whether it's true or not, we're going to go with that. And I hope that that is true. The whole mission of me ranting and raving here every single day, let alone in these forecasts every single week, is to just kind of remind you that you're not in this by yourself. You have a whole community of light workers that are holding down the grid here, and that you're not crazy, and that we're all experiencing the same things. And, if at the end of the day, if I can help even one person in the smallest kind of way, then I'm okay with continuing to do what it is that I've been doing. So I want to thank y'all for the love, for the support, for the encouragement, and just for spending your time and your energy here. It is very, very much appreciated. So like I mentioned, just a little bit of heads up, I record these forecasts very early, the day of. So you're listening to me in the evening. This was recorded super early Friday morning. And as of Friday morning, I'm going to be honest with you, I am super behind in all of the April zodiac forecast that I normally put out on the last day of the month. Now, granted, I know it's not a big deal. The first day of the month, people jump into a new month and they want to listen to the forecast then and all that kind of stuff. But I'm a perfectionist. I have OCD. And it really bothers me that every single month I allot myself time so that I can, meet the deadlines that I set for myself. And it bothers me that every month I seem to be down to a time crunch and that I'm never as fully prepared and ready as I was hoping to be at this particular time point. So what I will say is that as of early Friday morning, by the time you're listening to this Friday evening, I would hope to have the April energy forecast out, the little intro about what we got coming at us here for the month of April. I would hope to have that out. And I would also hope to have all the zodiac forecasts available to not only my Patreons, my VIPs over there on Patreon, but of course on my website for those of you that choose to download them individually. I am super sorry. I do apologize. I'm going to bust my ass here. As soon as I get off this forecast, we'll see what I can actually accomplish. But they're coming at you. They'll be there tomorrow if they're not already there today. And the other thing that I wanted to mention is I had a couple of people reach out to me and ask if I could create some kind of subscription service that would include all the things. And I think that's probably what I'll call it, is all the things subscription. And basically it is going to be a subscription so that, you're not forking out the $11 for the zodiac forecast. And then, if you're getting both the moon guides in the month, well, that's $22 if you're not a moon guide subscriber, which is $11. And then of course with the new Aries season EGuide that I put out, that's another $11. So as you can see, that would kind of, add up quite quickly, especially if you're also a Patreon member, that of course you get those free products, you get those discount codes anyways. But I understand it can be a little bit confusing to jump all over the place and have to purchase multiple things, and that can get a little bit expensive. So I am working on a quote unquote all the things subscription for those of you that would be interested in kind of having one set price and all the creations, all the workbooks, all the resources that I put out for one small nominal fee. So let's hope that I can pull that out sooner than later as well. I want to thank you to those of you that have downloaded the Aries season e-guide. I'm very grateful for those of you that not only invest in yourself, but realize that when you invest in yourself, you're also investing in me. You help the cause. They seem to be popular. They seem to be helpful. I've gotten some good feedback on them. So, we're not even halfway through this Aries season. If you still want to open yourself up to jumping into this new solar year, this new solar calendar, and do the work as the events unfold and really kind of dive into the inner realm of your experiences and what these astrology alignments actually trigger and activate within you. So thank you so much for those of you that are giving me the feedback. I really enjoy the feedback. And of course, like I had mentioned, we got a full moon in Libra coming up this week on the 6th. So, probably the 3rd, 4th, maybe, you'll see that the moon guide will be available for download as well. And, the new and improved moon guides, thank you all so much for the feedback on that as well. I'm glad that it's aesthetically pleasing and educational. That's a great thing. I'm glad to hear that. And I also want to thank you so much for those of you that jumped over to my Patreon to jump into the new Astro class. We're definitely piecing things together here. I am super, super encouraged that people are interested in learning. I know that I'm kind of breaking down the basics of astrology at this point, but we all got to start somewhere. So we're going to be moving into some good stuff and really dissecting some charts here over the next couple of weeks. So again, if you are looking to inform yourself on your chart and being able to hack it without becoming an astrologer, then I would highly suggest you jump over and you catch up on the astro classes that I have put out so far. The last thing that I want to say is that my booking calendar for April is now open and available. If you're considering wanting to book a session with me, I would definitely recommend you jump on over, you jump into a session, you reserve your spot, as there's not many left for April, as my Patreon VIPs get first dibs. They have had the week to kind of claim their spot. Thank you so much for those of you that have already booked in with me for the month of April. And now my calendar is open to the public. So if you're feeling the vibe, you want to explore what it is that your chart and your guides have to offer you as far as guidance and assistance goes for this particular point in your path, jump on over, book yourself in a spot, and we'll unpack it together. So I suppose with that out of the way, we should jump into the Ascension symptoms for this week. One thing I wanted to talk about, though, before I did so, I guess this is a little bit of a mini rant. I was planning on doing a whole rant podcast over on my Patreon about what April Fool's Day was all about. Then I realized it's really not going to be that long of a podcast. And to be honest with you, I'm so behind in everything that I have scheduled for the month ahead that I really don't have the time to sit down and do a brand new podcast about it. So I figured I would do it here. So April Fool's Day, I think, is a very interesting kind of day. Not sure if you know the history on it, but April Fool's Day basically emerged when France decided to change the calendar from the Julian calendar to the Gregorian calendar. And when that change was made, of course, that was around the same time as the Christian conversion and taking all the pagan holidays and kind of morphing them into the Christian holidays in order to kind of reap the energy from those particular events while deceiving people and worshiping a false idol, a false god. We won't get into that part of it, but the April Fool's terminology comes from the fact that when we switched over to the Gregorian calendar, it set everybody up thinking that we entered into January, entered into the new year, and needed to celebrate the new year at that time. And it's funny because, of course, we know now that the new year begins with the vernal equinox in Aries season. We just had that. And for those that went ahead and continued to honor the new year, the new astrological calendar around the vernal equinox, like many of us just celebrated, those people were spoken down to, were made to feel stupid, were made to feel dumb. And that's where the terminology of April Fools came from. The fools, quote unquote, the fools that were celebrating the new year, end of March, beginning of spring, around the April, the April, March, little equinox energy we got going on here. And it's funny because, that kind of just rings true that we're looking at this right now, the whole conspiracy theorist label, right? People think that, to be labeled a conspiracy theorist at this point is an insult. I don't know. Myself, I think us conspiracy theorists are on a winning streak, to be honest with you. Keep in mind that the CIA coined that term in order to make the people that actually knew what was up and speaking the truth look like literal crazy people. And it's no different when it comes to the calendar. So you had all of these people now, being encouraged to celebrate the new year in January. And we all know that that's the depths of winter. You can't bring anything new to life and have it be sustained throughout the calendar when you're in a death and dying period, which winter is. And so you have these small group of, I hate to even call them elitists because that actually means that they're important, but you have these small groups of people that are basically gatekeeping the secrets and inner workings of the earth. You have them deceiving the general public and having them put all of their energy into a dying season while they, of course, are celebrating the real new year in this equinox energy behind closed doors. And anybody who was celebrating this particular season as the new year publicly was made fun of. And that's where April Fools actually came from. I don't really understand the whole jokester prankster element of it other than making fun of people and creating fear and embarrassment. That, of course, is an energy that they were siphoning off of the general public, because that's what their whole calendar was meant to do, was have us celebrate and honor false gods, false idols on days when they are super powerful, actually harvesting our energies for their own life force. And they're celebrating the real days behind closed doors and making us feel like idiots for doing what is in the course of the natural law of nature, right? And that's the difference. Even today, when you say the word pagan, everybody thinks devil worshiper. Like, oh my goodness, you wouldn't want to be a pagan. Well, if you actually knew that paganism was based off of honoring the natural laws, the seasons of nature, that doesn't sound so bad, right? They've morphed it into something bad. And again, that's what they do. That is a thing for them. Anything that is powerful for the people to be stepping into, they are going to make you feel crazy and cuckoo in order to make you feel down upon yourself, make you feel like the outcast, make you feel like the bad guy. And, I think at this particular point in the awakening journey, we're starting to realize that we pretty much have to unlearn everything that we were taught and really kind of strip ourselves down to get in alignment with the energy of the season and the cycle. Connect to nature. We got to get back to that, right? So I just thought it was interesting, the whole April Fool's Day joke thing. Like, please don't play into that. You're just furthering their agenda. You're just giving them your power. You're just kind of cultivating an energy harvesting situation that they will continue to siphon from you when you continue to play these silly ass games. So let's just not do that. Let's rise above. Let's see it for what it is, and let's move on. Now, there is no doubt that we will be talking this time next week about the fraudulent history of what Easter is, right? We're getting close to Easter. Ishtar, fertility goddess. Like I said, we're going to unpack that probably next week. But we are definitely moving into April, into a different vibe, into a lot of different days in our calendar coming up that have been very deceiving for the general public. And I'm hoping to unpack all of those holidays and celebrations as they come up, reveal the truth, have you kind of realign to the natural order of the cosmos, of the universe, of nature, of the seasons and cycles, and get you back on track so that I can really stand here and feel good about how many of us are breaking free from this freaking matrix construct of delusion and really open our eyes to new levels of truth. And of course, that means that we have to essentially deconstruct our history. So that should be very fun, very interesting. Okay, so some of the Ascension symptoms for this week. So, the weirdness that we've been talking about, like everybody just feels weird. Everything feels kind of like a dream state or like an outer body experience. And like nothing has really changed, but it feels like everything has changed. And, we're still kind of in a state of confusion and lacking direction, but yet everything kind of feels foreign, and we're trying to stay in the present moment, but the present moment is skewed because time and energy and our, suns and moons and everything else is being altered. Well, that's likely going to continue. Don't know if you've taken a good look around at the collective stage, if you will, but there are some very important topics and themes that are being talked about on the great global collective stage. Let me just remind you that that is all a distraction. Let me just remind you that we are spiritual beings here in earth suits, meat suits, if you will, to assist humanity in elevating our consciousness to new levels of awareness so that we can essentially detach from the human construct of thinking that our flesh suits and money and power are the name of the game here. Let me also remind you that the topics and themes that are going on the global front right now are a distraction from some of the more serious topics going on in this 3D structure. And let me just remind you that the spiritual war that, yes, I know has already been won, but people don't understand that just because we know the outcome doesn't mean that we don't have to fight. Yes, it's already been won. Yes, we're going to end up triumphantly in the end. But there is a very serious spiritual war going on in other realms right now. And I know that because in communicating with spirits on the other side and channeling information, they are all being called to a certain part of the world right now that I don't really think that I want to talk about and be public about. There's a lot of things that I know that I will never speak on. But just know that a lot of souls and spirits are on a mission right now at a certain area, demographic, if you will, of this earth plane in order to try and not only protect the grid that we light workers have already created, but to further anchor it in and shield us from a very interesting dark force energy attempt to regain the power that they will never be able to take back. And I know this is factual for me, might not be your truth, might be hard for you to lean into that, but that's what I know to be true. And that is why we are seeing the topics, the themes, the storylines in our physical 3D Earth really kind of get popping at this particular point. Now, let me just remind you that the dark force energies that are basically controlling the most powerful people of our Earth plane right now, they recognize the overthrowing of their leadership. Okay, so in the what do I want to call it? In the soul contract of the domination of the Earth plane, those contracts are now kind of over with, and you would expect that in other realms it would be an easy transition and exchange of power. However, it's not. They're fighting. They're fighting to stay in the corrupted positions of power. And just as it happens above, we are seeing it below. And so what I would say to you is that it's important to not feed into the narrative. It's important to not be distracted. It's important to stay in alignment with your energy, with your higher self. It's important to remind you that the world is filled with light, not darkness. We're only seeing the darkness right now because of the amount of light that outweighs it. And I think that that's a misconception around a lot of people, is that they're like, oh my God, the world is so dark. There's no hope for humanity. You know, everything is just so corrupt and everything is just so, tainted and disgusting and blah, blah, blah. Well, guess what? The only reason why you see that now is because there is more dominant light. Okay? You would not be able to see the darkness if we were actually sitting in darkness. You are only able to see the darkness because of the amount of light. So do not get fooled in this, tricky narrative where it's all doom and gloom and fear-based, preparatory storylines and the what ifs and the blah, blah, blahs. Like, pay no mind, pay no attention. Be right with yourself. Be right within yourself. Be right within your energy. Concentrate on yourself. Stay in your lane. Do the work. Pay no mind to what kind of shit show is going on within this circus that they have very much staged on the collective stage, if you will, to get people distracted, caught up, and again, providing them with the energies and frequencies that they need to feed on in order to survive. So just know that there is a lot going on in other realms. And I think that if you were to be real and raw and vulnerable and honest with yourself and really move inward to align with that vibration and frequency, you would have the evidence just based off of your sleep state. Now, our sleep state, we talked about this, if you're lucky enough to be sleeping, congratulations. I would want to ask you if the pattern of your sleep state has changed. I would also want to ask you if your dream content has changed. Even if you're not sleeping and you're likely waking up at different times with your insomnia, with your, break in sleep. But a lot of that is due to the dream content shifting in us non-sleepers as well. And here's my theory on it. From what I gather from sources on the other side, from where I understand the souls and spirits on the other side are congregating on the earth plane in order to provide us with safety, protection, and to a little bit of extra oomph, extra elbow grease, extra power in holding down the grid through this very turbulent turf war. Because I know that to be true, I feel like my theory is that we're being kicked out of the astral realms right now. And for those of you who are dream walkers, who fights in other realms on a nightly basis, you're not fighting, are you? You're having really weird dream experiences, aren't you? You're having really weird dream content thrown at you, aren't you? There is a reason for that. We're not allowed to take part in the astral realm right now. The presence of light workers are needed on this physical earth. And for those of you who are like, oh, I live in 5D. I meditate for 5 hours a day. It's all love and light. Well, guess what? You're not helping, right? When you sit down and you put yourself in an altered state and project your energy to a 5D construct that is not alive and well here on the 3D, may I remind you, you cannot have a physical body in 5D, so you may have the awareness of what the consciousness of state of mind would be in 5D, but you are not living in 5D. Do not get me started on the just misunderstandings that people have about 5D, okay? Gets me frustrated. I'm not in the mood to talk about it. But for those of you that think that you're doing good by staying in an altered state for the majority of your waking time in order to quote unquote help New Earth, you're missing the point. Your energy, your time, your attention, your focus is needed in the here and now in the physical form. You are a conduit, you are a conductor, and it is doing Earth no good for you to be in an altered state of awareness, detached from your physical body and projecting your energy elsewhere, other than in your physical form, in the physical environment that you're in, here in this earth plane. We need you to stay present, right? Like, I don't understand why people don't get this, but whatever. That's like a topic, a rant, a theme for another day. We need you here now. When we get locked out of the astral realm, it is because we are needed here, not there. When we are disconnected from the spiritual realm for whatever reason, it is because our energy is needed here. And we are going through a very turbulent time right now in other realms and other dimensions that our energy is not needed there. That is their fight. We have a fight on our hands. They have a fight on their hands. We are not needed. Okay, we all need to stay in our lane. And I hate to tell you, but you are a earth being. Okay, you chose this. So stop trying to escape it. Stand in it. Lean all the effing way into it. You are doing the earth no good by living in an altered state and living in a state that is projecting your energy to a different version of reality, of yourself, of other dimensions, other than this one right here, right now. So if you are somebody that is constantly in a meditative state, constantly projecting yourself forward, constantly trying to visualize what New Earth is, you need to stop. You need to ground that energy into the here and now. We need your power here. Okay, not there, not anywhere else other than here. So you need to get your beautiful astral self back in your meat suit ass, okay? And you need to ground and you need to present here. That's where we're at. So, you know, the whole sleep thing, I really hope April brings a little bit more sleep. I, for one, could use it very desperately. I feel like we all need to pay attention to our dream state, because the content is changing so freaking rapidly that is a good indicator on the vibration and frequency that we are creating here on Earth and that is being fought for us over in other realms. Pay attention to your sleep. Pay attention to your dream state. Yes, the exhaustion from not sleeping, especially not hitting those REM stages where our physical body can enter into the rest and recovery mode, is really adding to the exhaustion that we are feeling in the run of the day. Of course, that doesn't help the level of confusion, and nor does it help the emotional stability that not many of us are able to achieve at this point. But again, divinely scripted, right? They need you exhausted. They need you confused. They need you feeling crazy so that you will conform, that you will not fight back, that you will not be awakened or give an F or care about anything that's going on. That is also a scripted plan. So you have to be aware of where it is that they come up with these plans and what their ultimate goals are in order to kind of rise up in your exhausted ass self and do what you got to do to fight the narrative. Okay, we got to go against the grain here. Let's not give them what they want. The distractions are going to come more and more as we shift the energy exchange over the earth plane. I don't really want to get into it about the history of the earth and who currently has control and all of that kind of stuff. However, just know that when you are basically being dethroned, you don't want to give up that throne, that power so easily. And so the more distractions that we have thrown at us here in the earth plane should indicate to you the desperation that the dark forces actually feel in letting their power go. letting their throne go. Just stay ahead of it. Stay in alignment with your gut and your intuition. It's really not hard when you follow your gut and your intuition to understand what is real, what is not, and the motives behind the things that are taking place. It's only when you kind of let your ego self intellectualize the concepts that are being thrown at you and trying to justify the means behind it, which is, just an exhaustive process anyways, that you may as well just save your very little energy and put it into something good. We are going to continue to be spaced out, but I want to say spaced out, zoned out in a receiving kind of way. So for those of you that, get downloads and visions and insights and all that kind of stuff, the space that you're in when you're kind of like zoned out and in alignment with the higher vibrations and frequencies that are like giving you this information, that is what I call you're in the zone, right? Like you're zoned out, you're in the zone. But it feels very disorienting in the zone. And it will, especially because there is a little bit of a disconnect between the higher realms and the earth realm right now, just because we're in what I'd like to call an energetic lockdown, just to try and, protect the earth and what it is that we've already done to build the energetic grid that is basically going to shift old earth into new earth. What we're being guided to do right now is to kind of space ourselves out intentionally so that we're not purposely working our brain, our intellect, because that would be tapping into ego. When you're spaced out and you're able to receive images or sounds or downloads or just knowings, you're not using your intellectual brain. That's the ego's part, right? That's the one that wants to make sense of everything. You're using your intuition and you're slowing your vessel down in order to receive higher vibrations and frequencies that may not be integrated into the cellular memory of your physical form as of yet. I think that because when Mercury moves into Taurus energy, we kind of put the blinders on. We get tunnel vision a little bit on what needs to be done, what needs to be changed, what is worthy of our time and energy. I feel like this is going to provide us with a different level of being able to be spaced out and zoned out and actually receive information from our higher selves that then we can take into the egoic intellect, start sorting it out, start processing it. But we're in a very strange time. And again, may I remind you, we've never been in this energy situation before. We're making history here. The human collective has never, ever, ever had this combination of planetary energies be alive and well on the earth plane, in this earth space. So humanity, like, we really signed up at a great time, right? But what I will say is that the spaciness isn't going to be like a confusion spaciness. It's going to be disconnecting from our physical forms enough to actually receive information from other levels of intelligence before we snap back in our body, process it through our egoic intellect, and try to make sense of it that way. Now, because we're moving into a week that, of course, we're building towards a full moon, we have to expect that, emotionally speaking, things are going to reach a peak. Things are going to get crazy. They're going to get chaotic right before that full moon. And that full moon, being in Libra energy, is going to highlight balance or lack thereof. And you best believe that we are going to see some extreme emotional outbursts out in the world on the great grandeur collective stage. We're also going to see some extreme outbursts in our own individual lives. And it will likely be super illuminating to those of you who still continue to stay in relationship dynamics that are not pure, that are not in alignment. You are definitely going to get rocked through this full moon in Libra. Why is that, you may ask? Well, because we're about to move into eclipse season. Eclipse season sorts us out where we were unable to sort ourselves out. And although it comes in forms of gifts and blessings, it does not appear that way when it's first handed to us. It actually might seem like a punishment. It will actually take months before you're able to look back on the events that get thrown at you in eclipse season and see it as the blessing that it was meant to be. So having this full moon in Libra is giving us an opportunity to get real and raw and vulnerable with ourselves, where it is that we have to establish balance and peace and harmony within ourselves, where it is that we have to actively work towards achieving those things in our partnerships, and recognizing where it is that we can't because we're not in partnerships that we should be in. And so this is definitely going to illuminate something, like I said, that kicked off about 1.5 years ago, bring it to a peak precipice where new details are being illuminated, new perspectives are being shown to you, new efforts are being made in order to right the wrongs that your ego avatar created for you based off a false identity, a false hope, a false dream. We're getting real, we're getting raw, we're getting vulnerable, and we're getting prepared to jump into eclipse season. I want to talk about some physical aspects. I know that was kind of like, time and dreams and, energies and blah, blah, blah. Some of the physical aspects. Have y'all been having a hard time with nails breaking, hang nails, jamming your fingers and doors, having accidents to your hands? This is another attempt to shut down the palm chakra activations that we've been experiencing for literally months now. A lot of this is because we're moving into the point of the zodiac wheel that is focused on the physical body, the egoic avatar in which we build Aries through Cancer season. And we are really seeing a different exchange of power within us. We are seeing a shift in our energy, our frequency, our vibration, our consciousness, our awareness. And we are unlocking, because we're doing such amazing shadow work. Congratulations for, really bossing up to that particular area of healing. But we are doing the shadow work that is needed in order to remove some of the blockages that have very much been gunking up some of these energy channels in our physical body. And this really is being emphasized the most between our hands and our feet. Now, I don't think you're having like hangnails and broken nails on your toes, but we're having like feet cramps. We're having cracking on our heels. We're having instability in our feet. And again, a lot of that is because we're afraid to move forward. We're afraid to take the steps that we know that we have to take. And I've had more than just a few beautiful souls of you reach out and kind of complain about the achiness, the pain in the feet, the instability that you're feeling. And it's all based on fear. So we really have to kind of nip that fear narrative in the bud and really get in alignment with our physical bodies once again, and really kind of build ourselves up again and reassure ourselves that we're strong, that we need to trust the path, that we're bold, that we're brave, that we're courageous, that we have what it takes, that we're protected every step of the way, and hopefully see some of the pain in our lower extremities actually dissipate. We are seeing lots of really weird bruises and scratches just appear out of nowhere, and most of it is coming when you wake up out of a sleep state. Now, normally when people wake up out of a sleep state with bruises and scratches, I would be the first one to say, like, cleanse your space, put a protection spell over you, because obviously there are spiritual entities that are having a go at your physical form while you're asleep and under paralysis. However, I feel like the current situation that we're in, waking up with bruises and scratches, is more of a identification tool on where it is in the physical body that these energy blockages are alive and well, and where they have tried to grasp our attention to those particular areas of our bodies in different ways previous to this. And now it's like, you know what? Last result, let's illuminate. Let's illuminate the bruise. Let's illuminate a scratch. Why? Because people question, like, well, what did I do to get that? Like, where was I that I got that on that area of my body? Like, what have I been doing? And when weird signs and symptoms show up and there's no explanation for it, then people can start like peeling back the layers and diving a little bit deeper on, okay, well, if I didn't do anything physically in order to create these bruises and scratches, then what else could it be? And I'm telling you right now, this really isn't an attack on your physical body from other spiritual entities while you're sleeping. This is an illumination on the areas of your body that you haven't been paying attention to the signs and symbols that were previously gifted to you, and therefore they are kind of getting desperate with the energy and attention that is needed to certain areas of the body so that you can illuminate where the emotional damage, trauma, pain, suffering, memories are now stored in your physical form, and where it is that you're having discomfort in your physical body because of these energy blockages now being too big, too gunked up, and really trying to draw your attention to that particular area. So you might say, okay, great, I got them all over my body. What am I supposed to do? Well, take a good look at the area of the body in which they are illuminated to. We want to massage them. We want to talk positive things to them. We want to relate them to the nearest energy chakra and see what kind of rulership that particular area of the body has, relate it back to the emotions that, of course, those energy chakras relate to, and start unpacking, right? It's all about energy, and energy is in motion in our physical bodies, and that is what emotion is. So if you have bruises, you have scratches, and they're unidentifiable on where it is that you could have even accumulated these, dig deeper, okay? Because there is likely an emotional blockage really being illuminated to you in your physical form that you have not been paying attention to. So let's pay attention to it. Let's uncover it. Let's peel back the layers. Let's heal it. So we've been having a lot of, I'm going to say, fire trapped in our bodies because of Aries season. This is a very strange Aries season. This is supposed to be a time of freshness, a time of initiation, a time of new elements, new topics, new beginnings. And we really haven't been in that vibe. And a lot of that is just because of some of the other aspects that are taking place that are kind of muting out those particular potential energies. But the fire that we're holding in is very kind of evident because we have acid reflux, we have palpitations in our heart space, we have, acid reflux, heartburn coming up, the throat. I'm going to say, we shouldn't be biting our tongue on speaking on some things because, of course, Mercury is in Aries energy, which is just like a spitfire, verbal vomit type of energy. So we should be like getting things out. But for whatever reason, some people are still unable to articulate what it is that they have to get out. And therefore, that fire is being kept in. And we're seeing a lot of symptoms manifest in the mouth, like biting your cheek, biting your lip, having your tooth go through your lip, little canker sores, little water blisters on the inside of your cheek, gums swelling up, gums bleeding, tooth pain, teeth aches, your teeth not fitting together the way that they normally would. I know this is a really weird sensation because it doesn't mean that your teeth are wiggly and falling out, but they literally feel like they're wiggly, like they click, they pop. It feels like your teeth are very sensitive, even when you're like biting into things or chewing normal foods. It feels like you are having to work harder to emasticate your food. And, that doesn't feel good. We're feeling very uncomfortable in our mouth space. Our jaw is holding the tension. Our head space is very congested. Lots of sniffles that are being disguised as allergies. A lot of ear clicking, ear pressure. A lot of watery, burning eyes. Very much the signs and symptoms that many of us would cast away as allergy symptoms. And of course, some of them are, but realistically, this is the fire energy that is now stuck in our physical bodies because we're not gifted with the direction, the clarity that we want, that we need, that we desire in order to channel that fire energy out into the world. And so the longer that we keep it into the physical body, the more inflammation we're actually creating. And inflammation is no good for anybody. That leads us to dis-ease. And right now, I think we're all feeling out of whack, out of balance, and very much feeling that dis-ease in our energy, in our physical bodies. I want you to pay attention to, especially once we get closer to the full moon in Libra, I want you to pay attention to what side of your body is stronger, what side of your body is weaker, what side of your body has the most aches and pains, what side of your body feels like it needs a little bit more strength, a little bit more attention, what side of your body has the bruises and the scratches. Because Libran energy is about balance, we really are going to see where things are unbalanced in our physical body and therefore in our emotional and mental body that makes up, of course, our energetic body. The goal is to examine the extremes, examine the chaos, examine the disorganization, not only within our physical selves, but within our physical circumstances, and realize that that is the area of our lives that need the most attention. We have to put the scales back into an even exchange. And that is going to be the goal for the Libran energy. And it will manifest in one side of our body being stronger than the other, one side of our body having signs and symptoms over the other. And it would just be a good thing for all of us to do, to have that awareness that we're going to be sent signs and symbols, triggers and activations on where the energy is unbalanced within our physical bodies and where it is that we have to take extra action and make more efforts to balance those scales out. So guys, I think that's all that I'm going to cover for this week. Of course, the normal Ascension symptoms are still alive and well. A lot of the ones from last week are being pulled over to this week. And until we kind of find ourselves in the middle of Mercury shifting and the full moon in Libra actually being illuminated, that's when we'll enter into a different realm of experience that, of course, will bring us different Ascension symptoms. So until then, I hope that you make a very graceful entrance into April. I hope that, again, whenever my procrastinating ass can get things done and get things out to you, that you do take a listen to the energy forecast for April and that you go ahead and you download your zodiac forecast. That'll give you the most, I'm going to say, information and the best, biggest, broadest picture on what it is that your personal adventure is going to be for the month of April. So let's do ourselves a huge, huge good thing and stay in front of the energies. Until then, I hope you have a beautiful week. I thank you for being here, and I send you nothing but love. We'll talk to you soon.